the right people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
Welcome to the best soccer show. The best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go. It's the best soccer show. Jason Davis doing it solo tonight. Happy Thursday, everybody. Thank you for jumping in. If you are watching live on YouTube, I very much appreciate everybody who comes on the show, or comes by rather, to participate live. It makes the show better when you guys are here for me live. So thank you very much if you are here. If you're listening after the fact, if you're listening on podcast or maybe watching back on YouTube, that's a possible. People do that, right? They watch back on YouTube afterwards. Thank you for doing that as well. All right. So here I am, all by myself, ready to go to talk about American soccer, as we always do. A couple of housekeeping notes, because you might be thinking, all right, Jason, last couple of weeks, you've opened the show by yourself, and then you've brought on some guest co-hosts. Some of those people you will know, like Jonathan Taylor Tannewald. Some of them are kind of new to the Best Soccer Show universe. Guys like Mitch, guys like Thomas, and they have helped out, and they have helped me get back into a rhythm of the Best Soccer Show after we had our big decision around the show, which was for Jared Dubois to step aside for just a little while. And I appreciate that. I appreciate Mitch, and I appreciate Thomas, and I certainly appreciate JTT, who I imagine could show up this evening. All right. And you go, okay, so this is the other part that you need to know. What's up, Nate? Nate's in the chat. Jared Dubois, for the time being, will not be making public appearances for everybody, for the general public, on the Best Soccer Show. If this is new information to you, let's catch you up. But if you do want to hear Jared, perhaps even see Jared, because this thing's on video, you could do that in the Besties bonus feed. And in order to get access to the Besties bonus feed, well, you got to be a Bestie, which means you got to be a Patreon member. So patreon.com/thebestsoccershow if you're looking to join up and maybe get some of the Jared that you're missing in your life. And I'm missing Jared, so I'm going to be bugging the guy about doing bonus stuff. Not going to be on the main show for a little while, but going to be on the show in some form or fashion, or on the channel, in the universe, as I described it just a couple minutes ago. All right, so with that business out of the way, let's get into what we're going to talk about here on the Best Soccer Show tonight. And some of you will remember that for a couple of years on Sirius XMFC, I had a radio show that was just me. I was by myself. So this is kind of me flexing those old muscles again. And honestly, I wouldn't be here doing it solo if not for Jared, because he, in fact, encouraged me to maybe do a solo episode. So hopefully you guys participate in the chat. Maybe we mix in some other elements in the show, but for the most part, I'm going to be here talking about what's on my mind in American soccer today. So here's where we are at this moment. And here are the things that I'm thinking about. And you're going to see this stuff in my writing at Jason Davis Soccer Eagle, which is really picking up steam. I'm finding it really hard not to want to write, which is a good thing. For somebody who started in soccer by writing, getting back to this where I get to write what I want. I get to write in the freest possible way. It is my place to write what I'm thinking. Now, editors matter. Editors are important, and they're vital, and they do good work. And sometimes when you're writing a story, you need an editor. I'm just mostly writing analysis and thoughts that I have about American soccer. And while I probably could still do with an editor, and I will make occasional mistakes, and there will be spelling errors and that kind of stuff, for the most part, I'm liking the idea that I get to just be free, write what I write, and post it. So Jason Davis Soccer Eagle is where you can find the written version of what Jason is thinking. And so I'm writing today ahead of tomorrow's new newsletter dropping. Yes, Trooper Barry Jay Rodius is indeed always in our hearts.
Jay Rodius.
I should wear a badge that says Jay Rodius so I can keep him right here close to my heart at all times, because we miss him. We do. His presence has been such a joy for us over these last, how long has it been? How long has it been? Okay, here's what I'm thinking about today. A vibe check on the Major League Soccer season, obviously talking about the big news out of Orlando. We're going to get to that in a second. The World Cup is 3 months away. If I'm not mistaken, is it exactly 3 months before the United States kicks off the tournament? I believe that is June 12th. I might have that date slightly off, but I know we're basically 3 months out from the World Cup and the United States men's national team playing in the World Cup on American soil for the first time since 1994. And you will catch in the newsletter some thoughts about that, right? Some thoughts about how I am trying to pull myself back from the brink. If you listened to Office Hours, which is a new thing I'm doing for the Patreon members, it's going to show up only on the Patreon page. It's a stream Wednesday afternoons where really just off the cuff, Jason, whatever's in my head, plus whoever wants to drop in. In fact, if you're a bestie, if you're a Patreon subscriber and you want to jump into that stream, the link will be posted for you to be in the studio so you can be here and you can talk to me about whatever's on your soccer mind. But if you heard Office Hours, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of me working through the anger, the disgust, the frustration with the World Cup right now, with the way things have turned, where what was supposed to be a celebration of American soccer, a celebration for soccer in America, maybe even the thing that pushed soccer forward a big way, has suddenly become this black cloud that is hanging over us. And what I think is also true is that we as soccer fans feel responsible on some level for what's happening to our World Cup. Now, we're not Johnny Infantino. You're not Johnny Infantino, are you? Johnny Infantino listen to the Best Soccer Show? He should. Actually, he should go back and listen to Baller or Blazer. That would be the best way to interact with the Best Soccer Show for Johnny Infantino. You're not Johnny Infantino. You're not responsible for the price gouging, right? You're not the president of the United States. You're not responsible for all the things that the U.S. government is doing that are going to make this a much more difficult World Cup to pull off. Neither am I. But as soccer fans, because this is our thing, we are internalizing the fact that it's being stripped down to something that does not resemble what we had in our minds when this World Cup was awarded, 8 years ago to the United States of America. Right? So I'm working through that. And maybe some people are just in denial about it. Maybe some people don't care. Maybe you don't care at all that the World Cup is turning into this cash grab, politically fraught exercise in trying to pull off a major international sporting event in a country that has turned decidedly in one particular direction. Okay. Maybe you don't care. I kind of do. I kind of care, right? So I'm processing that. So I wrote about that. I talked about it in Office Hours, but I also wrote about the idea that, you know what? I'm going to really look hard at American soccer to find some positives to pull out from that. Not necessarily the World Cup, although the World Cup is obviously, again, there's still parts of it I'm looking forward to. But the other part of it, the trying to find something good in American soccer, and it is a unique opportunity as an American soccer fan that you and I have to still witness. We are 30, 40, you could argue 45 years in, 50 years in, going back to the origins of the NASL. You could argue that we're already, decades deep, and yet we're still in this nascent development phase of American soccer. And that there aren't sports. I mean, you weren't there when Major League Baseball was becoming America's pastime. You weren't there when the NFL was breaking out of places like Dayton, Ohio to become this juggernaut that we now think of as our national sport. You weren't there when the NBA went from tape-delayed finals in the 70s to the it sport of the 80s and 90s and is now a cultural phenomenon unto itself. You weren't there, right? And there's no guarantee, by the way, that soccer in America will get to those levels, the NFL level, the NBA level, but certainly there is a ceiling that we do not know where it is yet, right? The ceiling for soccer is so far in the future, is so high from where we're standing, we can't even see it. whereas those other sports are already established, but also already fairly saturated. And I just think that that's an interesting place to be. So that will be in the newsletter. But I'll start out today with the biggest story in American soccer at the moment. That's Oscar Pareja getting fired by Orlando City after 3 matches of the Major League Soccer season. 3 games in. If I'm not mistaken, perhaps the earliest firing in MLS history, which could mean something, right? It could mean something about the way the league is trending towards higher accountability for managers, right? If you want to read that into this, you probably can. You can look at this and say, oh, Oscar getting canned after 3 matches where his team wasn't really competitive. They took a lead against Miami, gave up 4 in the second half. They had the red card against NYCFC, got routed in the Bronx. Right? They opened up the season with a loss to the baby Red Bulls, so we didn't know if they were going to be any good. Like, you could look at this and say, well, this is accountability. This is an MLS owner in Orlando looking at his team, looking at his situation. Maybe you put on the sporting director, Ricardo Moreira, and you say, oh, he's just not having it. And ultimately, this is a good thing for American soccer, for MLS. Higher levels of accountability means that when fans are upset or when things feel stagnant or when the team's not moving in the right direction, there might be actual decisions made around trying to make the team better. Right? That's what you could see in this hiring of Oscar Pareja in Orlando. Now, I'm not sure I quite see that, right? Because it does seem specific to the situation in Orlando. Oscar was headed into his 7th season in Orlando. That's a long time by world football standards. Certainly, even by MLS standards, it's a long time. MLS does give a little bit more leeway, but it's still a long time. And yes, 3 games in and making the decision does bring up this question of whether or not they were prepared to do this before the season started or in the offseason, and they punted. For what reason? Oscar signed a new contract back in 2025, not that long ago, about a year ago, as a matter of fact. So he was given an opportunity to he was given a contract to stay through 2028. Now, obviously, that was always dependent on whether they wanted to fire him or not. Of course, the end of last year was bad, and they backed into the playoffs, and they got knocked out by Chicago in the playoff round, the knockout round. So it wasn't as though he had this glittering thing to point to from last season. It seemed as though diminishing returns were settling in Orlando. But if you pay attention and you listen to people in Orlando, they'll tell you, man, this was not a roster that Oscar really wanted. It doesn't feel like Orlando City's leadership gave Oscar the pieces necessary to improve on what he did last season. Right? They ultimately ended up with only Duncan Maguire to start up top. They sold some of their best pieces. Schlegel leaves. There are these things that are baked into the offseason in Orlando that kind of passed the buck from Oscar up the ladder a bit. Oscar also didn't make Maxime Crepeau come out of his box and handle the ball against NYCFC. He didn't make Crepeau miss where the lines were or whatever. He got confused. He thought he was on second base. He was actually on third. Like, I don't know about that. Now, something that is swirling around all of this, of course, is Antoine Griezmann. Like, Antoine Griezmann, was he coming? Does this firing have anything to do with Griezmann? Now, excuse me, the reports out of Spain are that Griezmann is definitely not leaving Atleti before the MLS window closes, which is in about 2 weeks? Definitely not doing that. I mean, look at Atleti. They're going to definitely move on to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Now, if they had a bad first leg or they got knocked out before this level of the Champions League, who knows? Maybe Antoine Griezmann would have considered moving to Orlando. But right now they're saying, oh, he's staying. We're keeping him. And really, Antoine Griezmann's got no reason to leave because he's still good enough to help Atletico Madrid both in Spain and on the continent in the competition of the Champions League. I don't know if that had something to do with this here. But listening to Mike Gramajo, who covers Orlando City, talk on the radio today on Sirius XM-FC, when we had him on the show, everything that Gramajo laid out about what Ricardo Moreira has said about Oscar Pareja's departure indicates to me there was no plan. Like, there wasn't a clear path to, okay, the Oscar Papi era is over. Now we need to think about what comes next. Or, hey, maybe we're not quite sure it's over yet. But we need to have a plan because at some point it probably will be over. Or, hey, look at what happened at the end of last year. Maybe we're not sure. if this is the guy for us to move on, to take us to the next level. And again, it's probably a lot about the roster as well. But who in that front office is going to go, you know what, it's our fault. We did this. We screwed up. So let's just keep Oscar because he didn't actually do it. It's not him. So into the fray steps Martin Perelman, who has been an assistant to Oscar Pareja in Orlando. And again, listening to Mike Gramajo talk about Martin Perelman getting the job, it seems as though Moreira and Orlando City are trying to have it both ways. When asked, is Martin Perelman up for the the permanent job? Yeah, we could. That's possible. He could be. Now, you look, maybe you don't want to undermine the guy who's picking up the responsibility of head coach the second the guy who had been there for 6 years leaves. I don't know. Maybe that they're just trying to avoid making it look like they're trying to submarine Martin Perelman already as they go out and look. That's possible. But I don't think it's a great look when you say, well, maybe he's up for the job or maybe not. Are you going to execute a coaching search? Yeah, probably, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but it seems as though Orlando City maybe got emotional. Like maybe Mark Wilf or maybe Ricardo Moreira or somebody at Orlando City just got angry. Maybe Poppy said, I don't like this roster. I've lost 3 games, and it's because of you. And they said, no, you can't criticize us. We're your bosses. You're out of here, buddy. I mean, it could be something like that. I don't know. Again, these are guesses. I also wonder, and I asked Gramajo this today on the radio, I wonder if maybe the presence of some big names out there on the market in MLS coaching circles means they're thinking, all right, Martin Perelman for now. If it doesn't work, there are some names, or maybe they're already talking to people, right? Maybe there is a break glass in case of emergency situation. And the name that came up today, a name that I think people had kind of, look, you see him on television if you watch in Espanol, Major League Soccer coverage on Apple TV. But if you're not doing that, you may not think about it. Giovanni Savarese is out there. And Giovanni Savarese wants to coach in Major League Soccer again. He's not happy just doing broadcasts. He's not happy just doing analysis. He wants to be coaching. He's talked about that consistently. Every time we get him on the radio, he says, yeah, I want to coach. I'm looking for my next opportunity. I want to be a coach again in this league. And while it didn't end well in Portland, nobody gets fired because they're doing a great job. I think you could do much, much, much worse than Giovanni Savarese if you are Orlando City. And culturally, it might not be a huge lift to go from Oscar Pareja, Colombiano, to Giovanni Savarese, who is Venezuelan. Like you might not have a big of a league. He's bilingual. There's a lot of things there. I mean, again, those are kind of simplified ways to think about it, but he's a fairly successful head coach. And then remember, you've got Jim Curtin's out there. Wilfred Nancy is without a job. A guy who won an MLS Cup title just a couple years ago. He's without a job. He's out there. Right? I'll even throw in a name like Peter Vermees. Think Peter Vermees is just chill right now? What you know about Peter Vermees, the competitor? You think he's just like, yeah, I'm good. I'm just going to tend my garden in Kansas City. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe the guy's like racing cars or something to keep the adrenaline. I don't know. He's going to come up on MLS lore, by the way. I got to get that on my list. It's another thing we're going to do tonight. We're going to do a little bit of MLS lore on the Best Soccer Show, and I pulled up something special for us, but I don't have the Peter Vermees GIF. You guys know the one I'm talking about? Raise your hand if you know which Peter Vermees GIF I'm talking about, or GIF. Which one is it? GIF. Peter Vermees might be out there, ready to work again. Bob Bradley might be out there ready to work again. Do you think the league has completely passed Bob Bradley by? I don't know that I do. I think Toronto's a mess. I don't know if I blame him for that. I think the Italians just undermined everything that might have been good about what Bob Bradley could have done in Toronto. He's out there. There are some really high-quality coaches with MLS success on their resumes waiting for somebody to pick up the phone. And that could have been a factor here for Orlando City. All right, so that's one MLS topic. I see Eric wants to talk about CONCACAF Champions Cup and San Diego. Now, the CONCACAF Champions Cup remains one of the weirdest competitions on the planet. Right? Always delivering strange things, whether it's visas not being approved for the team that the Galaxy beat last night, Mount Pleasant out of Jamaica. Maybe it's, I don't know, Nashville and Inter Miami facing off for what seems like the 1,000th time in this competition or overall, but in this competition this year facing off. Nashville and Inter Miami played to a goalless draw last night. That is definitely advantage Miami as they go back to play the final game in Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale before they open the new building against Austin. I think that's March 4th. Yeah, March 4th. Let me get that right. May 4th. No, April 4th. Damn it, Jason. Lost my months. It's March now. April 4th is when they open that. All right, so there you go. There's a little bit of background on what's happening there. Of course, you had Philadelphia and Club America play the other night. Philadelphia's looked terrible in MLS. They hold Club America to a single goal. They, of course, I don't know what to make of them. You had in that game, Luis Malagon, Mexico's their number one goalkeeper, all set, primed to take the job at the World Cup, went down with an Achilles injury, cooked for the World Cup. No Luis Malagon. Se fue Luis Malagon. That's happened in this CONCACAF Champions Cup. And then San Diego, man. San Diego, look, it's easy to fall into hyperbole. Everything becomes the best thing. And certainly recency bias plays a role in all of this. But I don't think it's wrong to say in a general way, like maybe there have been some dips. Maybe that 2017 Toronto FC team was as good as anybody in Major League Soccer right now. I don't know. But I don't think it's wrong to say in general terms that Major League Soccer has been on an upward trajectory since the very beginning, since the league started in 1996. And what you have right now with San Diego FC, who didn't win anything last year, but got to a conference final in their first season, right? Did something nobody expected it. Like we have seen teams be good in year one, and you're thinking, wow, look at them. They're surprising everybody. They're near the top of the table. They're pushing for the playoffs. Good for them as an experience. Good for them. And everything feels, I think about St. Louis with this a little bit. Everything feels like, oh, look at you guys. Look at you guys trying so hard. Maybe it won't last, but really good job. Somebody brought up Bob Bradley. That was me. And also it got mentioned in the chat. It's a little bit like that. I mean, obviously it's like, oh, maybe they have cracked the code. I know some people who pay attention to German football. I'm not going to name any names, but some people after that St. Louis season in year one were like, oh, clearly Lutz Pfannenstiel has cracked the code on Major League Soccer. You could go win this league with third division German players. No sweat. Turns out it's not that easy. I do think that being new gives you an advantage. Nobody's got a book on you. Nobody knows how to play you. And it might be months and months and months in a season before they're like, okay, wait a second. Let's get a handle on what these guys are doing. Because they're beating the pants off everybody or they're surprising everybody. And I think there might have been some of that for San Diego. Clearly, you are new. You have an advantage in that when nobody knows what to expect. Now, the other side of that coin is that you don't have a lot of experience playing together. Right? Your patterns aren't established. Your partnerships aren't established. You have to work that out on the fly as you go along. Somebody's asking about Lutz Pfannenstiel. I'm pretty sure, Angus, that Lutz Pfannenstiel landed on his feet and is a sporting director somewhere. And I want to say he went back to Germany. No, excuse me. My mistake. He is now the sporting director of Aberdeen in Scotland. Lutz Pfannenstiel is a man who knows how to get a job. It's a man how to get a job. So San Diego enters the league, surprises everybody, but they play a brand of soccer that didn't feel like the typical brand of expansion soccer we have seen. Like I'm gonna pick on St. Louis. And by the way, I want St. Louis to be good. I think it would be good for maybe the best amateur soccer town in the country to have a good professional soccer team. I think that would be good. But St. Louis did this crazy high pressing. I mean, they were taking advantage of mistakes. Remember how great Klaus looked in year one for St. Louis with that high press that they were running under Bradley Carnell? Like it was all about, oh, go, 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 go. And they turned that into a playoff appearance. That ain't San Diego. Like San Diego uses the ball about as well as any MLS team, maybe this side of Columbus and that Wilfred Nancy team that I can remember. Right? They play expansive football. Right? They use the field. San Diego does. And so what happened last night, since that's what we're talking about, that's what got brought up. What happened last night was fascinating because you get a red card. You get a red card in the opening part of that game. Like a red card that in years past, Ingvartsen picked it up in the 12th minute for that high boot in the box, which ended up in a penalty, which means not only did you go down a man, but now you're down a goal against maybe the best Mexican club of the last couple seasons. Like Toluca's the best team in Mexico. I mean, that only goes so far in Mexico because tomorrow you drop down the table. Tomorrow you're nothing. Right now, Toluca's in second. A point back at Cruz Azul after 10 games in this particular tournament, the Clausura. Right? This is not a team that snuck into the Champions Cup and is a pretender. Right? And is not really, doesn't really belong there the way that a top team from Mexico belongs there. They are a very, very good team. And San Diego took that punch, two of them, which for a lot of MLS teams in the past would have been a knockout. And they bounced back. Right? The penalty. And then they get a goal from David Vasquez in the 32nd minute. Then they score again in the 46th minute. They're up 3-1 at one point because Anders Dreyer scores an absolute howitzer of a goal in the 53rd minute. So they get one before halftime. They get two after halftime. They're up 3-1. Now, Toluca was not going to fade. I mean, they weren't going to just wilt. They were going to keep coming. And they did. And you had the Manu Dua red card, which then allowed for another penalty goal. And Elinho scores, and Toluca makes it 3-2. And I think that is a big problem for San Diego. As impressive as they are, now they are down two players, Ingvartsen and Dua, going into the second leg. We're talking about a starting center back, right, and a key piece of that attack. They're down those players for the second leg. They got to go to Toluca, which I think is 63,000 feet altitude, 23,000 feet altitude, 12,000 feet. It doesn't matter. It's so high up there that it's going to absolutely murder your lungs. And I find it very difficult to believe because history tells me so. 9,000 feet. Thank you, Eric. History tells me that MLS teams go to die in Mexico, especially at altitude. And it's not disrespect for San Diego. That is not me saying, okay, Angus says 7,200. Guys, get your altitude straight. What am I here, the altitude guy? No, I'm just kidding. It's very high. It's very high. Whatever it is, keep in mind, we talk about Colorado, we talk about Denver, we talk about going to play the Rapids, or if you're playing football, it's the Broncos. That is a mile high, right? We're talking roughly 5,000 feet. Some change over 5,000, 5,500 feet maybe. And Toluca is at least 7,200 feet. Now, important to note, they have been to Mexico, right? They had to play Pumas in that first round. They have some experience with this. But, man, at this stage, against this quality of opposition, I would love it. I would love it if they see this out. And, again, if it wasn't for the two red cards and the suspensions that come from those, I might still be on board with San Diego. But I'm so impressed. I wrote this today, so you'll read it tomorrow on the newsletter. Jason Davis, Soccer Eagle. Have you subscribed to the newsletter? If not, why not? Do me a solid. Subscribe to the newsletter. Jason Davis, Soccer Eagle. I wrote, I don't know, and again, recency bias, hyperbole. I don't know if I can remember a team playing as confidently, an MLS team playing as confidently as San Diego does, and I don't just mean against other MLS teams. I mean against anybody. Because the difference in flavor between what San Diego did last night and what they're doing in this tournament and what we've seen from MLS teams in the past is like, yes, maybe at home you feel confident, you feel comfortable, Maybe you take a lead in the first leg. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, good job. And then everybody knows that once you get up to the altitude or once you hit Mexico City or once you go to Guadalajara, whatever it is, once you go to Monterrey, you are going to absolutely crash and burn. And it might not be 5-0, but you're not going to hold your lead because MLS teams don't do that. And not only that, you won't dictate the pace of play. You won't be the one determining how the game plays out. That will be in them. They will have the impetus, and you will be responsive. And if you are responding and you're in Mexico, you are in trouble. If you are defending like that and you're in Mexico, you are in trouble. That's what history tells us. Those are the lessons I take away from that history. So I'm rooting for San Diego. But, man, it's going to be tough. All right, let me move on to a couple other things. I want to talk World Cup build-up. Lots and lots of rosters dropping. Lots of people dropping their predicted rosters for the U.S. men's national team camp that comes up. We are less than a week away from that roster dropping. And Mauricio Pochettino has some choices to make. And I think that while there are some good places in that roster, like there's some strong position groups, and you're like, okay, yep, man, we're feeling good about that. Like if Jedi Robinson is healthy, and we've got Alex Freeman playing pretty well. I mean, he's not playing much at Villarreal, but comes into the camp pretty confident with his place in the U.S. men's national team. You know, Max Darvston, for whatever he doesn't do defensively, is obviously a very talented player on the attacking end. Tim Weah can play in that position, and we're probably going to see some of that. I look at that center midfield group. I look at the group that has Tyler Adams healthy again, that has Johnny Cardoso playing for Atletico Madrid on a regular basis and looking pretty good. Now, again, he doesn't translate for whatever reason to the U.S. men's national team. Like, I don't know. Something's broken with that relationship, but maybe they can mend it. Maybe Pochettino's got a plan for that. Right? Aiden Morris is playing very well in England for Middlesbrough. Will he be in the mix? Tanner Tessman in France. You got Sebastian Berhalter, who started the season pretty well with Vancouver. They're picking up where they left off. Christian Roldan, who does everything at like a 5 or a 6. He's not a next-level player at anything, but he does so many things pretty good, pretty well, that it's really hard to imagine leaving him out. And he is such a glue guy. Now, you go even higher up the field. Now, Pulisic's not in the best form, but I'm okay with that. I'm fine with where he's at. He's come back from a knock, a little niggling thing, and he's back on the field, and that's okay. Weston McKennie, that insane purple patch is over, but he's still a very good player playing at a high level for Juve. Now, Malik Tillman, you know, I still think he's got an important place in this team, and we're going to see him, and I'm still high on what he could do at the World Cup. He came on as a sub for Leverkusen in that draw with Liverpool in the Champions League. How many people caught the foul that Malik Tillman committed in the box, which gave, I think it was Madueke who went down, right? It gave Arsenal the penalty kick that allowed them to get the goal that they will take back to London. It wasn't a defender's decision, right? So Malik Tillman did not go in the way a he was a step behind. He never should have gone to ground. Now, that's as far as I'm going to, like, that's as critical as I'm going to be about Malik Tillman in that situation, because this is what I think a lot of us are thinking. What foul? Tillman's foot ends up in front of Madueke with the ball slightly ahead of both of them, right? So Tillman does not get the ball. He does not clear the ball. That is a problem in terms of how it looks. Madueke clips his foot. Maybe clips his foot. Again, I think it's one of those things where it looks worse full speed than it is. The referee blows the whistle. We go to VAR, and VAR's not going to overturn that based on the evidence at hand. They're going to leave the call in the field. That is it's not quite, I'm talking about the clear and obvious standard necessarily being the determining factor here, but I don't know that's a foul that you look at and go, well, I'm 100% sure he didn't commit a foul. I think it's a lot in the eye of the beholder. And that's a problem for Malik Tillman because, again, that's his one major contribution to the game, is committing the foul or being whistled for the foul If you don't believe there was one, that leads to Arsenal getting the goal. I'm still high on Malik Tillman. Nate's clearly not. Tillman? I think it'd be like Malik Tillman. Is that better? Or is it not? Not better. Let's workshop these things, people. Brendan Aronson had a really good run for Liverpool, for Leeds rather, for a little while. Maybe things have backed down a bit, but he's still a useful player. Right? Now, I see the conversation happening. I see certain people out there stumping for a certain player who has gone missing for his club and yet remains on paper for most people the most talented player the United States has that they can call up. Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess who I'm talking about right now? Like, I almost feel like I should have a rule that I don't say his name until he shows up on a roster. Like, across the streams here for a second. So, Matt Doyle, over on Soccer Wise, writing at Tactics Free Zone. Matt's back writing about the U.S. men's national team and talking about them, and he addressed that in his Tactics Free Zone, and I encourage everybody to read Matt, right? Matt is 100% convinced that he who shall not be named should be in this team and should go to the World Cup. Like, beyond playing in the March friendlies, this individual, a certain son of a famous American soccer player, should be at the World Cup come summer. And it's only about his talent. It's only about his game-changing ability. This is a guy with so much talent. He is the most talented player that we've ever produced. Okay, these are Matt's words, and I've said this, and I maintain this. I'm with Matt on the talent part, right? I'm with Matt on what Giovanni, damn it, so close. What this guy can do. I'm going back to the following the rule. We will not name him until he's on a roster. If he is motivated, if he is healthy, if he's committed, if he buys in, if he shows up, how many ways can I say this? If he actually wants to use the talent. But I don't see it. I don't see it. Not right now. I mean, who does? You can't see what you can't see. What doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. He might be better as an idea than as an actual player. We've probably talked about this on this show. Jared and I have probably talked about the fact that he is basically a myth now. He's a myth. He's not really a player you can count on to do anything because there's no evidence to say that he will come good in the moment you need him. Now, when he's gotten some looks, he hasn't been bad. But there are plenty of times when it feels like, okay, now's the moment. Do the thing, son. And he doesn't do the thing. I think most American soccer fans, those of us who really care, have moved on. It's interesting to see Matt, who I respect, who knows his shit, go to bat for the kid. But let's talk about somebody else who plays his soccer in Germany. Because I've already seen his name mentioned, and this is one of the stories du jour around American soccer. And it's been a little while since we had a proper dual national panic. DNP, did not play, dual national panic. And it's happening over a 19-year-old named Noah Kai Banks. Noah Kai Banks, born in Hawaii, basically raised in Germany, incredibly talented player. I saw somebody already suggest he's still pretty raw. I mean, at 19 as a center back, who's not going to be raw? Of course he's raw, right? Is he Kubar C level? Probably not, right? He's probably not that level, even though he's obviously very talented and he's getting significant minutes and playing for a team in the Bundesliga in Germany. I've seen the kid play a little bit. I'm impressed by him. He is very good on the ball for his size, for his position. And that is something I want in the U.S. men's national team. And then here's the other thing, though. Right? Again, experience. Like, how far does experience go? I'm a believer. If you're good enough, you're old enough, who cares? If you're 19 or 50, if you can play at the level necessary, put you in the game. But I think a lot of what's going on here with Noah Kai Banks, and it looks to me, my reading of the situation without any inside knowledge, because what have I said consistently on this show and in other forums for years? When it comes to these choices for these players, 99 times out of 100, it is all about which national team has a better chance to do big things, which national team seems more important in world football, which national team is connected more to the player's culture. Those are the factors that matter. Like you can argue about whether we should be recruiting and rolling out the red carpet. I mean, should we be doing the things they used to do in college football recruiting? Like, come visit us, son. We'll take you out. Take you to a good steakhouse. You can go hang out at the house, the rental we got around the corner. There's a hot tub. There might be a couple young ladies. That's how they used to recruit. Now, throw some cash at you. Don't need to do that anymore. Right? And here's the thing that doesn't matter. Nate is saying that kid, Noah Kai Banks, will never see the field for the German national team. No way. That may be true. That may be true, Nate. That's your opinion. You're entitled to it. It may be true. Right now, it doesn't matter. Because as long as he's 19, as long as he's full of potential, as long as he can dream, and as long as there's a possibility that he can play for Germany, it is unlikely, in my mind, that he will choose the United States of America. And you think about the dual nationals that the United States has scooped up, particularly in the Berhalter era, right? Those are players whose options were limited for the other country on their list, like very limited. Now, you could argue that Balogun at least had some thought that he might one day play for England. He had been in the youth ranks of England. Right? You could argue he's sort of in the same kind of place that Noah Kai Banks is right now, and ultimately Balogun chose the United States. But I think Balogun understood, like, there are some ballers ahead of me. I can't get on the field for Arsenal. I'm looking for a move away. It's going to be really hard for me to break into England. If I want to play international football now, when I'm entering my prime years, well, I better choose the United States. Balogun's already 24. Right? If he had chosen England, if he had not picked the United States, he was still holding out for England. The chances of him getting caps, I mean, this World Cup is 2026. He'd be 28 in 2030, maybe. But again, and maybe I'm massaging things a little bit, but I think in general, outside of Serginho Dest, now maybe Dest ultimately didn't turn out to be the player that everybody thought he could be, and he wouldn't have been a featured player for Holland anyway, for the Netherlands anyway. But at the time that Dest was making his choice, there was a lot of chatter about him playing for the Dutch. And they were upset. They were angry. They were hostile about it, that Dest had chosen the United States. Oh my God, how could you possibly do that? What, are you stupid? Is that what they say in Holland? They go, what, are you stupid? So Dest was the one outlier for me. I can't think of anybody else. Jedi Robinson wasn't going to play for England. Not at the time that he made his choice. Right now, he's becoming this player that maybe he's going to Liverpool this summer. Okay, great. But at the time, I mean, he's already in his late 20s. Guys want to start their international careers much younger than that. So, man, look, if we don't get Noah Kai Banks, I will be disappointed, because I think the other part of this that is fascinating is that some of this panic, or some of our stress over Noah Kai Banks' decision, which would have been there anyway, because that's what we do. Like, we're not so far into our development as a national team, obviously, because we haven't won anything. Like, we haven't made any noise in the World Cup. The last time we won a knockout game was when some of you here probably weren't born yet. Is that right? Oh, man. Like, that's how long ago it was since we got past just that first game post-group stage. Like, of course, we're going to covet every player we think can help us. But some of this has to do with Tim Ream. Some of this has to do with the fact that Tim Ream has slowed down. And I'm sorry, time comes for us all. Tim Ream is finding out that Father Time is a son of a bitch. And this MLS season hasn't started well for Tim. And we need somebody to step into that center back role. And look, as much as I would like it to be somebody like Mark McKenzie or Austin Trusty, I guess it could be Miles Robinson. And none of these guys are bad players, but they're not the extra level. They're not Chris Richards level. Like Chris Richards has matured himself into this player that we can count on for the most part, and he probably is going to be a leader back there. All right, I got to respond to the chat. You guys are doing great here. Remember the outrage when Aaron Johansson picked the United States over Iceland. I do remember that, Trooper Barry. Do you know why I remember that so vividly? Because back when Soccer Morning was a thing, I think we were pretty early in the lifespan of Soccer Morning, which I think only lasted 3 years in the end. Back when Soccer Morning was a thing, I interviewed the president of the Icelandic FA, and he was salty. He was pissed. He was not happy with Aaron Johansson, who was born in Alabama. Isn't that how he said it? They got Aaron Johansson on camera one time to say, I was born in Alabama. I think he did his best with the Alabama accent. So there is that. Again, I will make this clear too. Noah Kai Banks should pick with his heart. Or he should pick whatever is best for him. Let's say it that way. Like, you know, obviously the international game was designed to pick country versus country, your soccer versus my soccer. And we now live in a world that is so connected, where people are moving all over the place, that it kind of has taken a little bit off that idea. Like the idea that this is truly a test of England versus Germany, Mexico versus the United States, as if we are completely separate, that we are on bubbles, that we never cross over, that there's no interchange here. Of course not. Right? We've got players that could play for Mexico. Mexico's trying to take players that could play for the United States. You got players that have 1, 2, 3 different options when it comes to their national team. Yunus Musa is a good example of that. Didn't Yunus Musa have 3 different teams he could have played for? Right? This is where we are now. So you kind of have to let go of this idea that playing for your country, unless you just have no choice, in which case, be proud. Sing the national anthem as loud as you possibly can. But for some of these guys, it's not like that. And their identities are maybe not even tied to some sort of nationalist idea. Their identities are all over the place, and they speak 6 languages. Again, this is the idea of like, we care about this a lot more than some of these players do, and we can't really blame them. So, if Noah Kai Banks picks Germany, what am I going to say? How dare you, son? You really missed out. You picked the wrong country. No, of course not. Now, again, if he never plays for Germany, that will be a sad situation. It will ultimately mean that he picked wrong. But we can't know that now. We can't know that now. And I definitely think, to Nate's point and some other people in there, it's very possible we're all overrating Noah Kai Banks just a little bit because of the dual national panic. Because we do that. Because if there's somebody that could choose somebody else, suddenly we're really interested. Oh my God, he's such a great player. He's such a great player. I'm gonna. Okay, this is a good point too. You don't pick Germany, Germany picks you. Okay, let me rephrase this then, because you're right. Noah Kai Banks doesn't want to accept the U.S. call-up, perhaps, and maybe play for the United States at the World Cup because he wants to hold out for Germany. He won't go to the World Cup this summer for Germany. He won't, obviously. Like everybody, he knows that. But if he chooses to play for the United States this summer at the age of 19, he'll never play for Germany in a World Cup. And that may be his dream. So what do you do if you're in that same situation? You would say, I'm going to go play in the World Cup because it's the opportunity to play the World Cup for a country that I don't know if I have a ton of connection to, or I'm going to hold out and I'm trying to get better. And I'm going to make it into one of the most famous national teams in the world, a world champion. I don't know. All right, I got 10 minutes left. And a very different thing to do here. Change of pace, mixing it up on the Best Soccer Show, keeping our Best Soccer Show vibes alive. I thought we would tell the story of some MLS lore. So this is MLS Lore Corner, I think I'm calling it for now. MLS lore. You guys know what lore is, right? Anything that kind of happened, a moment, a memeable opportunity, like something that kind of tied us together as American soccer fans because everybody knew about it when it happened or talked about it. And there's a handful of these moments. I mentioned Peter Vermees earlier. And that shot of Peter Ramirez, who apparently was somebody said something very, very aggressive to Peter. Said something like with the F word. Are we censoring ourselves now? Jared's not here. It feels weird to curse. This show has always kind of been a little blue. Like we put the parental advisory thing on it. Anyway, somebody said, fuck you, and he just interpreted this many different ways as if he was in an acting studio. That's MLS lore. Right? That's a good example of MLS lore. So, again, perfect. Thank you, Trooper Barry. This is exactly what it is. Lore is what you get when you do side quests while waiting to progress the main storyline. The main storyline, the story of a season, the narratives around that, this is different. This is little side things. And today, for our viewing pleasure, I have brought you a visual aid. For the audience on podcast, you'll hear the audio here. Tell me who remembers this.
Camera's rolling. You have your radio recording devices on. Get them on. We good? Okay. This is all I'm going to say about what happened with me tonight.
I'm going to stop here for a second. So I'm going to chime in every now and then. If you don't already know, this is Mike Pecky when he was head coach of Real Salt Lake. This is July 22nd, 2017. And I'm sure everybody here listening now live in the chat, and perhaps everybody listening on podcast knows who Mike Pecky is. And I don't want to talk about Mike Pecky's end at RSL because that's a sad story, and it's not a good look for Mike. But at the time, July 22nd, 2017, Mike Pecky was head coach of RSL. And Mike is, like, you took a New York guy, like New York through it, like you could hear it in his voice how New York he is. Like some people are from places and you're like, oh yeah, that's where you're from? Oh, I had no idea. Mike Pecky, you know exactly where that dude is from the second he opens his mouth. You got your recording device, whatever he said. I'm not going to do a Mike Pecky. Let's continue.
All I'm going to say about anything that happened yesterday with Kyle, so no questions about that. It's going to be met with, after this, no comment, okay? Here's why I got ejected tonight, and it's on me.
Mike Pecky, as you said, got ejected from this match, 72nd minute of a 1-1 draw with Sporting Kansas City in 2017. And in his post-game press conference, which you're hearing now, he decided to bring visual aids of his own. He's got pictures.
I apologize to my players already. I apologize to my boss, who's standing back there, Craig. I'm going to apologize to my owner, and I apologize to the fans right now, okay?
Now, this is the best part. Oh, that's the best part. Okay, all of it's the best part. But Mike Pecky is setting this up. He's like, I apologize to everybody for getting kicked out of this game. But here's why. Let me show you why I got ejected.
But I could have released this. I could have went on Twitter. I could have done whatever. And here you go. Trey, hand them out.
Okay, here's the moment. See, this is the thing that people remember about this. He has these pictures, which he's printed out. They're in full color, by the way. They're in full color. So somewhere, some printer is struggling. The ink of this printer is like, what are we doing here? We're printing out full color, Mike? He's got these full color still images of things that happen on the field. And you've already heard him say it. Trey, pass him out. Trey is Trey Fitzgerald, who is the comms guy at RSL, who's still there and has been there for, 20 years now, Trey? Trey might hear this. He's been there for a while.
When Kyle Beckerman gets fined in a run-up play for literally extending his arm, yet the last game that Kansas City played.
Okay, so Mike Pecky is now holding up a color image. I believe this is a screen grab. Like, so what he's got is a picture from the broadcast of the game that shows, now he's talking about Kyle Beckerman getting in trouble for an elbow, and he's holding this up. I don't know how far away the media is in this situation. And by the way, you can hear that the microphone's got some feedback, which I didn't remember, but that's Mike's feedback, not us. So he's holding up this picture, and he describes why it's bullshit that Beckerman got carded or whatever, and yeah.
This picture, this happened with their number 6, Sanchez, who is a great player, valuable player for them.
Ilyich Sanchez gets some love as as Mike's describing what he did wrong.
Hand around the throat of a player from Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. I forgot. I'm so sorry. I forgot this element. This is a wrinkle. That photo is not a photo involving RSL. It is a picture of Ilyich Sanchez with his hands around the throat of a Philadelphia Union player. Not even a thing that happened in the game he got booted from. This is just, hey, I brought evidence. I brought receipts that say these players should be treated, my players should be treated better because look at these players. Or why is my player getting punished? And oh yeah, they're not.
The referee looking straight there. Look at his eyes, straight there. And then whatever committee it is that could review this sees all this. Nothing has happened. Kyle Beckerman is suspended for extending his arm.
Extending his arm. I like how he said pitches. I got some pitches.
While the player is coming away from our goal and Kyle's running towards our goal. No goal scoring threat. That's one.
Oh, that by the way, guys, that's just one.
Why I got a red card tonight, or I don't think they do red cards for players. Do they, Craig? They just eject you. Why I got ejected tonight?
Very manic, Mike Peck. Just gonna say, man was very manic.
This is the play right here. Pass these out, Trey.
Pass these out, Trey.
We have a player put through on a breakaway. Could have been a breakaway. You see the still frame right here of him in a headlock. In a freaking headlock.
It's a freaking headlock, guys. That player's in a freaking headlock.
Nothing is called. And then the ball goes back the other way, and there's whatever foul it was on Tony Beltran or Luke, or I don't even know at this point. There's a foul called, put them in a goal-scoring opportunity for a free kick. Okay? I am who I am. I've apologized to my players. I've apologized to my boss again. I've apologized to the fans. I cannot, if I do not act the way I do, I can't sleep the next 4 weeks. Okay? I have players here that over the last couple of games have given me everything, have bought in everything. Okay? Tonight, they've given me everything. The one thing I'll say about tonight is that we were a bit sluggish. And perhaps we were a bit sluggish because of the work that
I like how that suddenly he gets into like, oh, I got to be a critical coach. I got to be fair about my team's performance.
Put in over our last 2 league wins and the 10, 12 days that I had with them. That's on me. These guys have given me everything. I'm not going to answer why I got ejected, but look at these 2 pictures. I have 2 more that the freaking printer didn't work, so I couldn't.
Guys, he burned out the printer. They ran out of ink, or the printer just screamed for mercy.
Print it up, but I'll get you those slides as well. Okay. Okay. Now I'm good. Now I'm good. Questions?
And that's it. That's Mike Pecky, who obviously, after getting ejected in the 72nd minute, had plenty of time to go to the office and say, print this out, and also print that out, and print out this other freaking thing. The freaking headlock. He's got him in a freaking headlock, guys. A little bit of Mike Pecky lore. I don't know what Mike Pecky's up to now. Again, like I was going to avoid it. Mike Pecky got fired by RSL after an incident where he was accused of using a slur in Spanish, I believe during a CONCACAF match, if I'm remembering the end of Mike Pecky's tenure. Yeah, back then. Man, he was just a character. Just a character. And again, I'm not going to defend the slur thing. It'd be very funny if he owns a copier company right now. It'd be very funny. I'm not going to defend the slur thing. 2019, he was terminated, and Freddie Juarez took over. They lost. Leagues Cup. It wasn't CONCACAF. It was Leagues Cup. They lost to Tigres, and he was suspended for directing anti-gay slurs at the officials. And again, I believe these were in Espanol. So, not to defend him, probably didn't quite know what he was doing. He shouldn't have let his temper get the best of him. Whatever. Not defending that. Shouldn't have kept his job after that. After the outburst with the slides, as he called them, he was fined $3,000. He tweeted out, by the way, after the fine that he was fined $3,000. He had a bunch of stuff go down. And he was in New York as head coach of the Red Bulls before that. And another bit of MLS lore, certainly for New York Red Bull fans, is after Mike Petke was fired, when they brought in Jesse Marsch, they held a town hall with some season ticket holders, the Red Bulls. I believe Ali Curtis was there. I think Jesse Marsch was there. I have to go back and review my lore. But there were some very angry New Jersey and New York soccer fans in this town hall yelling at the leadership of the New York Red Bulls over the departure of Mike Petke. So there's a lot to dig into on my MLS lore list. So stay tuned. I might be doing more of that on the main show. I also intend to do some of that behind the paywall, whether that's at the Best Soccer Show. Probably going to write some things up on this stuff, maybe. And I would like to, I think I'm just trying to speak this into an existence, and I know I got to do the legwork to talk to the people who were involved. Like, for example, wouldn't it be fun to talk to Trey Fitzgerald about that moment? The Petke press conference for an MLS lore episode. Like, could I get Trey Fitzgerald to either do a podcast episode with me, maybe a short half an hour conversation, or maybe give me some thoughts for a written piece? That would be fun, I think. Like, I don't know. I know Pablo Mauer's out there telling stories about American soccer. And by the way, shout out to Pablo, doing really good work for The Guardian. But I don't know that anybody's this is dumb stuff. Like, I'll admit that these are dumb things. Like, talking about what happened to Team America, or telling the story about some important piece of American soccer history, or some individual, or telling the story about how MLS started, or how the World Cup ended in America in '94, or some of those other things. And obviously Pablo is doing current event work as well. That's all important. But shouldn't somebody be the curator of the stupid things? Should there? I don't know if I want to nominate myself curator of the stupid things. The dumb lore, the silly lore. Again, there's all kinds of viral moments that come out of MLS history that a lot of people either don't know about or just forgot about. So that's my thought on the MLS lore corner. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And we'll see what comes out of it in the future. So, all right, here, we're at the hour mark. It's time to wrap up the show. Thank you to everybody who participated live. You guys are the best. I am seeing updates about the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and that Cincinnati is having their way with Tigres right now. Look at this. Did Tom Barlow score a goal? My goodness. You got Tom Barlow on the score sheet, Cincinnati? Maybe they will get this done when they go to Nuevo Leon. I don't know. We'll see. Shout out to Cincinnati, who I don't think been that impressive in MLS this season and didn't know where their goals were going to come from. All right. A little bit more housekeeping at the end of the show. Again, I'll reiterate. The best American soccer community that I know is the Best Soccer Show soccer community, the besties, and you can join that by signing up for the Patreon. It's not a bunch of money. It's a little bit of money. You're going to get some extra bonus content that I'm putting out there as well. There are some there are a bunch of off-the-cuff thoughts and posts that are going to be coming there that are already starting as I kind of get into the habit of dropping some things over there at the Best Soccer Show Patreon. Anything involving Jared Dubois from here until you are told otherwise will be behind the paywall at the Best Soccer Show Patreon. So if you want some Jared, if you're looking for some Rodius in your life, and who isn't? I mean, really, we keep him close to our hearts right here.
J. Rodius.
Patreon, Best Soccer Show. Couple bucks a month. Get you access. Get you in the Slack, which is where a lot of the people who are right now in the chat hang out and talk about soccer and other things and life and all kinds of stuff. So, man, Mitch is right, and there's an OnlyFans I don't know about. I'm going to be very disappointed. Very disappointed. This is not Jared is not anyway. All right, we want to get into that. That will disturb me on several different levels. All right, so Best Soccer Show Patreon. That's one place you can go join the community, get the extra stuff from the Best Soccer Show. Morning Kick Around. That's the daily show. No, it's not daily. It's 3 times a week. Let me get my numbers right. 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. It goes live. It is also available to watch after the fact. It is available as a podcast as well. So if you look for Morning Kick Around one word, you will find that. Okay? We are doing all kinds of stuff over there. We are telling stories about expansion in American soccer, not MLS, but mainly in the lower levels of American soccer. I was going to talk about the USL CBA negotiations on this show. I didn't get time because you guys are so good. We got into other stuff. But that is where we talk a lot about the USL CBA, and we've got updates on that as it goes along. We are also talking about World Cup and MLS topics is there as well. Stadium building, all kinds of things. The soccer wars and telling those stories, because right now USL and MLS Next Pro seem to be in a land war, trying to gobble up these towns to put soccer teams in. And gigantic news from Morning Kick Around, we're dropping a jersey. Morning Kick Around's going to get a shirt. It's in pre-sale right now. That link is right now just available to the Morning Kick Around Ultras, the members of the channel. And the way to support Morning Kick Around is to go sign up on YouTube to be a member, to become an Ultra. That is the best way to do that. Okay? That jersey is available for pre-sale. We also have some other gear on our show shop. By the way, I also did, again, too many things. I did a brand new Best Soccer Show t-shirt. One t-shirt. I wasn't going to do a bunch of other stuff. Wasn't going to make hoodies, do different designs. I want to put Jared's face on a thing, but I don't know if he's going to let me. But you can get a Best Soccer Show t-shirt, an upgraded version from the old one, right there on the YouTube channel. If you're watching there, that's where you find that. I'm not sure. I don't think it's crazy. $25, something like that, to buy a Best Soccer Show shirt. I got to get one myself because I'm due for an upgrade on my Best Soccer Show gear. So Best Soccer Show, Morning Kick Around, the newsletter, one more time for Jason Davis Soccer Eagle. That is a me production by my lonesome, writing about American soccer, dropping thoughts. I was told by somebody who knows about writing about soccer, somebody who knows about soccer media, that I should keep those newsletters short and sweet, that I should give my readers just a little bit and then have them come back looking for more later on. I suck at that. I am what you would call a wordy writer. And as I said at the top of the show, editors, not a thing when you do a newsletter by yourself and you're just a one-man show. So it's got some information. It's kind of packed. There's a bunch of stuff in there, but I think you would enjoy it if you like American soccer. This week's, there's 2 editions each week, Tuesday, Friday. Friday edition comes out tomorrow. Going to talk about Oscar Pareja in there, a little bit what you've heard tonight, but a little bit more on that. Some thoughts about the MLS weekend coming up, 3 of them, as a matter of fact, about some stories I'm interested in. You'll also find the links to this show and to Morning Kick Around and the Morning Kick Around jersey. I'm actually going to put that link in there too for anybody who wants to buy. So pre-sale for the Ultras, but it goes live for everybody tomorrow. And I got an update about the future of Soccer Eagle and maybe some of the other things I want to do over there. I'm pondering whether there needs to be a paywall at Soccer Eagle just for some of the content, not all of it. I want to do stuff. I want as many people to read it as possible, but man, we're all out here hustling, like doing our stuff. I got a kid going to college this fall. So and my wife is furloughed and not getting paid for them. Oh, that's politics entering real life. Oh, so that's all out there. If you want to support your friend Jason, do that. I mentioned office hours, didn't I? I mentioned office hours. Yeah, I did. Every Wednesday, 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'm committed to that. I know it's not the greatest time for people who work, but if you happen to have an hour and you want to join me to talk about soccer, it's going to be available to stream and watch, but it will also be available for you to drop in if you are a bestie. And that's how you get access to that. Become a bestie, and you get access to the studio where I will do office hours every single week. And I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'm probably not. I'm probably good. So with that, I thank you very much for listening and watching this episode of the Best Soccer Show. We all miss Jared, but I hope you had a good time anyway. And yeah, I'm out. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
The best.
Only the best.
Damn, dog, that's an approach.
Oh, it's incredible!
Get to the chopper!
The Sausage King of Chicago.
WNBC. WNBC.
Oh, here we go, saucing them up. Hit him, what?
Calm down, Greg, it's soccer. It's soccer.
Take us to DEFCON 3.
Jay Rodius.